So back on October 22nd, John Vanden Boss and his wife Lisa, they were out in Yellowstone National Park, and they were looking for a place to fish. And as they're looking for their spot, they actually come across a grizzly bear. And they lived through this because John is with us right now here on the XL Morning Show. And John, I'm going to let you kind of tell us the story of what happened that day, and and how it all turned out. Obviously, it turned out well because you're here.
Thank you, Dave, for having me.
So yeah,
It's nice to be alive.
I'm wondering like how many. I was thinking like this is like people walking on the moon. There's only a handful of people that have walked on the moon. There's got to only be a handful of people that actually came face to face with a grizzly bear
in the backcountry of the moon.
Yeah, and lived to tell about it. So, and you're one of those, you and your wife. So what happened on that day?
We're very fortunate. Well, on the 22nd, which is Saturday, it's about noon. We're on the northeast section road in the Lamar Valley, east of Tower. And we get out of the car at a pullout and hike cross country, 45 minutes. It's about a 2-mile hike to get to the river, the Lamar. And so about 1 o'clock, we get to the river, a place called Buffalo Fort. And we're scouting for some nice fishing spots. And there's a buffalo trail that goes off to the left, which is to the west. And Lisa had been about 100 yards behind me at that point. And I waited for her at that point before I went into this low visibility area that had steep terrain and trees about 30 feet above the river bank. And we stopped as we went inside this tiny, dark spot. We observed a very nice place to catch fish where the river tanked. And we said, we're going to go have lunch, and then we'll come back and probably fish this section here. At that point, we left that place and took 3 paces. And an adult grizzly bear exploded from the riverbank at that point with a huge growl.
How far are you from him at this point?
30 feet at the most.
That's
Dave.
it.
Wow.
30 feet. He's down below us. Lisa's just behind me. We don't look at Lisa. I don't have any time to look at Lisa. I have a fishing rod in my hand. We both are wearing bear spray on our belts, not in our backpacks. They're on our belts, as usual when you're in the backcountry. And this bear comes up so fast that within an instant, but I see a whirl. And as he comes off the bank, I see there's a carcass. Probably an antelope's been in the water maybe 2 days. I don't see a head. All I see is the rib cage. And so up he comes, about 25 miles an hour, straight at me. And I'm not even thinking about bear spray. I have a reflex. I'm about to become a statistic. That's what goes through my mind. This bear is going to kill me. And he takes another step. All 4 paws are going.
So he's on all fours.
He's on all fours. He's not standing up. He's on all fours. He's coming at me. And my reflex is I had my fishing rod, which is a 9-foot rod. People ask you, when you read the press release, it says that the bear came within 9 feet. And people ask the question, well, how do you know it was 9 feet? Well, my fishing rod is,
That's how long my
is a
rod
9-foot, 5-foot Thomas & Thomas.
And that's the one. You got it here in the studio.
Behind me on the couch. And so I put that just to self-defense. That's all I had. I had my bear spray. I had forgotten I had my bear spray. I had fear.
Right.
And so I put it on his nose, and he stopped. Now, did he stop because I put it on his nose, or was it a bluff charge, and he was stopping anyway? Or did he realize that we were above him? I had a big backpack on. Lisa was next to me. There were 2 of us. He was maybe reassessing something, if bears reassess. Anyway, he stopped.
So you don't know?
Don't know. Never will know. I put the rod tip to his nose. I didn't puncture the nose. I put it on his nose. I couldn't believe it, and I shook it. I flicked it in his nose. And in that small time, time stood still. Next thing I hear is, psh, and Lisa blasts her bear spray. It comes coursing across my right cheek. I get a little bit in my throat. I go, and I said, oh boy, I'm going to have a problem with this now, perhaps as well. But I'm not really worried about that. She's got the bear spray. My brain wakes up. The rod gets thrown out of my hand. I pull out my bear spray an instant later and give a second burst. Psh. The bear hears this and sees it, turns, reels towards the river, goes down 4 or 5 feet, does not leave the area. He's there, but he goes down to the riverbank, spins, whirls to his left, comes back at us, hits the cloud that's been created 2 seconds earlier. All this takes about 15, 20 seconds, this story. Hits the bear spray, stops. Game's over. He stops, goes into the river, swims. Now he's 700 pounds because he's wet.
And he just swam down the river?
He didn't swim, crossed.
Across the river.
Directly across the river, up into the adjacent hills. He just loped. He didn't even lope, he ran. I think he bolted up there. And do you think I had the reflex to get out my camera and say, let's take a picture
I was
just going to say to you, so after you see him on the other side of the river, still going that way, how fast after that did you collapse to the ground?
Well, no question about even thinking about getting out a camera and taking a picture.
No.
Actually, I was so pissed off that I went down to the riverside and kicked the carcass aside and started to fish.
You're joking, right?
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
Because then you still have a 45-minute hike back out
We
to
left
get to your car.
We left the area immediately, of course.
So, okay.
Because there could have been another bear.
Right?
The carcass right there.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Like, were you worried, like, on that hike out that you were going to run into either that bear again, he's going to come back, or you're going to run into another bear?
We hauled ass.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Out of there.
Yeah.
Usually I'm pretty slow. There's a haul ass that takes me 2 trips. But this time it didn't take me 2 trips. We hauled ass. We got out quite a bit faster than we came in.
So then the whole way back out, were you talking to each other?
Yeah.
Well, we felt pretty. Well, when you came out of this tight spot, low visibility, you can see a lot more in the valley. So we were less concerned, but nonetheless, we were rattled, of course.
Yeah, I would imagine.
We were quite rattled by it.
Are you kind of like in shock? Like, are you shaking? Are you
No. No, we just knew we had a very close call.
Yeah.
An extremely close call. And so I got halfway across the flats and was fairly flat and called my brother, got a little bit of cell phone coverage. So I called my brother and let him know what the situation was. And we got back to the car and settled down a little bit, had a little something to eat, and waited for a ranger to come by because there's quite a bit on that road. And it wasn't long, about 20 minutes, a ranger came by and we flashed lights at him. He stopped and said, "What can we do for you?"
Well,
He said, well,
I said,
let me tell you a story.
We got a bear story for you. And he kind of looked at this dubiously and then he realized indeed there was something that had gone on. He said, "This is kind of a big deal. You're going to have to fill out some forms."
You have to fill out forms when you get attacked by a bear, huh?
Yeah, a statement.
Huh.
Yeah, I've got a copy.
So they all want to see, I guess, get your statement, find out what
They want
happened.
to know who, where, when,
Yeah.
why.
So did the bear knock your fishing rod out of your hand, or did you throw it to get your bear spray?
I believe it flew out of my hand at a high rate of speed once I realized that it was that Lisa had shot her spray and it was time for me to get mine out and shoot it. Oh, that's about a tenth of a second.
Right.
So yeah, I just Lisa picked it up afterwards, and she didn't know how it got there, and I don't remember it going out of my hand. I just remember out came the bear spray, and I've shot it before, so it's a really nice feeling to know what to expect, and to get a quick aim and out it comes.
Now, but when you shot it before, that was a test, right? You've never actually shot it at a bear, yeah?
Yeah, you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
you go out in the middle of nowhere and take a used can or one that's expired. Or if you want to spend some bucks, you can just go ahead and buy a fresh one. But
so even when the bear approached you, he was 9 feet away, the length of your fishing rod.
9 feet. Yeah.
Still on all fours.
On all fours, coming at me 25 miles an hour. What had happened, actually, when I think back at it, I was shooting the bear spray from a sort of not a prone position, but I'd fallen back because I'd fallen back in anticipation of being hit. In the impending strike, which was going to turn from a charge into an attack, where the contact was going to be made, I was falling back in anticipation of that. And when my spray came out, I was not standing when I shot it. I was already halfway back, steep trail, so I'm kind of lying half on the ground. That's how close it was.
Wow.
Close.
Yeah.
Heartbeat.
So what do you think now? Like, what after this is all over? Now, obviously, you've had weeks now to think about it. Has it changed you in any way? Has it changed your life? Are you more grateful for things? Like, I've never been in that situation of like near death. So, like, what is it? Has it changed anything for you?
It's a very intense experience. So
I would imagine.
So you're very much aware that you could be in a different place every time you get up in the morning, or you walk around Bozeman. Say, I'm walking around without having to be in the hospital or in my coffin. So yeah, you're very much aware of
well, and good
how
for you and your wife for knowing what to do.
This was great. She got off that first shot, remember?
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that Lisa gets the credit. Lisa got the first shot off. I was in front, and so I was going to take the hit, but she's the one that got off the fire hose. So.
That's always my worst nightmare. She gets the kudos for me, and I can't do anything. I just freeze.
Like freeze.
So yeah. That's amazing that neither one of you did.
It was sort of it took so quickly, but to see this blur appear, explode out of the riverbank, and realizing it wasn't a couple of geese or mergansers,
just like that.
It was you got a full grizzly bear coming at you, and that bear had his knickers in a twist.
He thought you were going for his dinner.
He didn't like that. He didn't like that. We interrupted his dinner. Now, the river at this point makes a little noise. So this wasn't to our advantage. The river's tilted, and it's bubbling along, and he's down there eating.
So he doesn't hear you?
He doesn't hear us.
Until you get right up on him.
We got right up on him.
Yeah.
So
he was probably a little scared, too. Like, hey, what? Right?
Right. He was scared, and then, of course, the knickers came out. So they got twisted, and there was no hesitation on his part. He just exploded and came right at me. No sniffing or growling or bluffing. He might have stopped as a bluff as he was about to hit me, but that we'll never know.
Right.
Close enough for me.
So what about now? Like, have you guys been fishing since?
Next day we went to Slough Creek.
You did?
Well known for its bear activity.
You weren't like, okay, that's good. I'm done for the season.
No, I think when you fall off a horse, the best thing to do if you can get right back on.
Man, I would never go back in the forest again.
Well,
I wouldn't. I know.
That next day was you're very rattle. We made a special bear rattle. Lisa found aluminum can
just to make a lot of noise.
That had a screw top, and she put a bunch of pennies in there. That thing really makes a lot of noise. That rattles your brain.
Your neck while you're walking.
No, she's shaking. She was shaking it.
The whole idea of being in the woods is to get away from it all, the noise, isn't it? Like,
So last time we were in the park, we saw 2 grizzlies, and they were actually really blonde. What color was this one? Was it blonde or was it more brown?
It was brown. It was brown and gray, and mostly blurry in my memory. I remember he had a black nose and had big nostrils. I remember he didn't show his teeth, I'm
amazed. You guys went right back the next day.
We went right back the next day, fishing, a little bit rattled, but
good for you guys. That's awesome.
Yellowstone's is an interesting spot because it's one of these places in the world where you can get out of your car and walk 200 yards and down into a gully, get eaten by a bear. Killed and eaten by a bear. You don't hear about this in the game parks in Africa and Serengeti and Kruger. You're always in your Range Rover.
Oh yeah.
You're always protected from the animals. And Yellowstone is this remarkable spot where you are not on top of the food chain. You're part of the food chain.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You're in the food chain, and when you realize that you're about to be eaten, you're in the food chain. It's terrifying.
It seems like there's been more contact with bears like with grizzlies. Is that just my perception, or it just seems like in the last year or so there's been more encounters with people and grizzlies?
Well, I don't know. I think I don't know. I think
comes in waves. I think sometimes.
If you ask hunters, there's tons of times when they come.
Maybe so.
It's, you know what I mean, like.
Or you go Alaska, the fishermen, the fisher people that go to Alaska, they see bears all the time. So, but it does come in spurts. Remember, it was 5 years ago that. There was a couple of back-to-back fatalities in the park.
Yes.
There was a couple that was attacked. The husband was killed. The wife
they actually
survived.
Brought that up last year. Remember when that man was killed?
And that was in July, and then the following August, a month later, there was a single hiker that was killed.
We were talking to the spokesperson for Yellowstone National Park last year when that the doctor who worked in the park from Billings. When he was killed by the bear.
Lance.
I don't remember what his name was.
Lawrence.
But we talked to the spokesperson, and she actually brought up 5 years ago. She said the difference is, like, their take on what happened a year ago or last summer, that bear killed him, ate off of him, and cached him. 5 years ago, killed him, and left. They didn't eat off of them. They didn't cache them. They didn't do all those things, and that's how they caught the one a year ago. So, Yeah,
So-
I think those were the last 2 fatalities in the park were a year ago and then the 5 years ago.
Right. So to go back to your observation that you think there's more.
It feels like it.
Feels like it, but sometimes it's come in waves. There's 2 or 3 attacks like that hit the press, and then this year, of course, there was one in Ennis,
Which
a
just
month
happened.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to note also that the park currently has a program communication campaign happening about bear spray. It's called "Don't Be Afraid of the Bear" or something like that. The bear doesn't care. Maybe you've seen the posters. The bear doesn't care. So what's happened in our particular case was this is a successful bear spray story, which dovetails perfectly into their campaign of bear spray use. Know how to use it, carry it, know how to use it, and especially coming out, they're especially interested in getting this information out because the previous attack in Ennis was sort of a negative bear spray story. So this is a sort of a way for
You should be their spokesman, right?
poster child.
Totally.
Poster child comes up.
Seriously. Well, you'll
But
always.
the bear spray is what did it, as far as I'm concerned. And Lisa
That's-
agrees with me that it was great to have the 9-foot 5-weight rod, but it was the bear spray that saved us.
So
How
we're-
long do you think from the time you took it off of your belt until you could take the pin out and actually spray it? How long a time do you think that was? 2 seconds?
Like that? Not even. No.
Wow.
Split second. Because it's right there. So you just pull it out. And if you've done it before, you don't fumble. Slight fumbling because you got the ring. You're not quite sure which way the ring's going to go, or you have to get off that safety. So maybe 0.3 of a second, 4/10, half a second.
Wow.
It's
That's
out.
fast.
Yeah, it's fast.
Especially with, the pressure, too. I mean, it's one.
Lisa was great. She pulled that out and kept cool head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, wow. All right. It's John Vanden Boss and his wife, Lisa.
Thank you.
Who is not with us today. I mean, she's not in the studio with us, but she's still with us.
She's still with us. She's on her way to see her parents in Virginia to tell them a great bear story.
Yeah, no kidding. You guys are going to be the life at any party you ever go to now. So thanks for coming in, John. It was good to hear your experience firsthand, and glad everything turned out okay. And I'm guessing,
Thank you, Dave. Thank you,
Amy.
I'm thinking you're pretty good. I mean, how many times in a lifetime can you get attacked by a grizzly? So I think you got yours out of the way.
John, I got one last question for you. So after the attack in Ennis, Dave was actually gone the day. So Yellowstone, or they came out with, the press releases. Everybody said, hey, don't forget, if you're in bear country, you should talk, you should make noise, you should sing a song.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would have had to pick a song to sing in order to scare the bear away, what song do you think you would have come up with?
Well, without a doubt, it would be Edith Piaf's "La Vie en Rose."
I asked one day when Dave was gone, and
La Vie en Rose.
a lady called in and said head, shoulders, knees, and toes. There's a lot of funny answers. So,
Oh, gosh. All right, John, thanks for coming in. It was nice meeting you.